Yeah. So let me just quickly repeat what I said. The insertion reaction was characterized by a system where you had a 1-electron donor, which is an R group, and a 2-electron donor, which is, in the case that we discussed, it was a carbonyl. But I want to show you that it is a general reaction today. And what happened, to recap what we discussed, let me just repeat what we had summarized in the last class. The migration involves two cis groups. The migration involves the movement of a cis 1-electron donor. The 1-electron donor moves to the 2-electron donor. From the 1-electron donor attached to the metal, the R group, the 1-electron donor attached to the metal, moves to the 2-electron donor attached to the metal. As a result, this 2-electron donor becomes a 1-electron donor. Okay, so what happened in this instance was that it became a MCOR. This is again now a 1-electron donor. So the movement of the 1-electron donor from the metal to the 2-electron donor makes the next system have only a 1-electron donor, and it leaves behind a vacant coordination site. It leaves behind a vacant coordination site. This vacant coordination site is often filled in by an incoming ligand. So the movement of the 1-electron donor, the last point that we saw was the movement of the 1-electron donor was with retention of configuration. In other words, it behaves as if it is an anion and not a cation or a radical. Cation and a radical would lose their lose the stereochemical integrity while they move from one position to the other. So these are the important points that we had learned in the previous lecture, which involved insertion processes. Today, we will have another set of insertion reactions, and this will illustrate the fact that insertion is actually a general phenomenon. It is not limited to carbon monoxide. I want to illustrate this primarily with what is called a Schwartz reagent. The Schwartz reagent is pictured here. It is a metallocene zirconium complex, which has got a hydrogen and a chlorine attached to the zirconium. And the zirconium, if you use the ionic method, it will be in the +4 oxidation state. When it reacts with an alkyne, so this is a C triple bond C. It reacts with an alkyne. It can be converted into a substituted alkene in the end in a two-step process. In the first step, there is an insertion reaction in which the hydride moves from the zirconium on to an alkyne, which is coordinated to the so let's write it in such a way that the R group is away from the metal, right? So you have an insertion reaction taking place, and the insertion is happening in such a way. In this case, of course, there is no question of cis or trans. This whole the whole complex is oriented in such a way that the two cyclopentadienyl rings are in fact like if I want to picture it, I can show you a three-dimensional structure that would be better. But since that is not there at the moment, I will just make do with two blobs representing the cyclopentadiene. So you can just picture it as a very large group attached to the, and it's a tetrahedral system here. So it's like a tetrahedral system. Now, if I have a 5-coordinate system by attaching the alkyne. Okay, so let's proceed. I will just move on to the next slide. So what happens is this, the addition of the hydrogen that was coming in, let me color that also in a different color, because that would help you to follow. This is the hydrogen that came from the zirconium, and this is where it ends up. Okay, so the hydrogen is added on to the alkyne in such a way that the R group is moving away from the zirconium, leading to lesser steric bulk, and the addition of the hydrogen to the alkyne leads to the generation of another 1-electron donor. So you see that this is also now a 1-electron donor. Here we had a 1-electron donor. In between, we added a 2-electron donor to the zirconium. When you put a square bracket like this, the square bracket is equivalent to Cp2 Zr unit. Okay, so the hydride now adds in such a way that the alkyl group will be away from the zirconium. So this results in the formation of an intermediate, and this intermediate is stable enough that you can now treat it with an electrophile. An electrophile could be a positively charged species. In this particular instance, it is shown as a positively charged species, but it doesn't have to be. It can be it can be any other species, but let's assume that it is, say, a proton. Then you end up with an alkene. Okay, and the net, if it is a proton, for example, the net reaction would be Cp2 ZrCl plus. Okay, so the incoming hydrogen, the blue hydrogen, would actually be the E. So I will. I think this is very clear because it's already a E. Let me mark only the hydrogen. That should be clear. So the end result is the addition of H and E in a cis fashion to an alkyne. H and E are added in a cis fashion to the alkyne, and this reaction turns out to be a very convenient reaction for adding H and E groups to alkynes, especially terminal alkynes. You get very good yields of the final product. And advantages are many. One of them is the fact that you do not have to generate the Schwarz reagent. This is the Schwarz reagent, which can be generated using a hydride source and Cp2ZrCl2, which is very easily made from ZrCl4. So you can end up with this in situ. This can be generated in situ and treated with an alkyne to finally get this product. So I'm just going to give you from a paper which has done this reaction with a variety of alkynes, and you can see that the electrophile has been changed. In this particular case, the electrophile is I plus. Okay, in this case it's I plus. This case it is H plus. This case it's D plus. Okay, and NBS bromosuccinamide, it is Br plus. So you can see that the second group that is added ends in the terminal position. The first hydride that came in from the Schwarz reagent is added in the internal position. So, and that is why you here, for example, you end up with, you don't see, it's just as if it is hydrogenation. You have added a H minus from the Schwarz reagent and a H plus. So you have just reduced the alkyne to an alkene. Now, this is a convenient way if you want to reduce an alkyne from an alkyne to a cis alkene, for example. This might be a good way to do it, and so on. Here, of course, there are all terminal, so it doesn't make cis or trans. Okay. Let me now show you that the intermediate that is generated, which I kept writing in a cryptic fashion, this intermediate can be used for further insertion reactions because it has got a 1 electron donor. Remember, addition of the Schwarz reagent generates a CP2ZR complex in which there is a 1 electron donor. So here is a 1 electron donor which has been generated by addition of the Schwarz reagent to an alkyne. If you add another neutral molecule like carbon monoxide, then the carbon monoxide also undergoes an insertion reaction. Now you end up with addition of hydrogen, carbon monoxide, and then it's an acyl. This is again a 1 electron. So you added a hydrogen to an alkyne. First time the insertion has happened onto an alkyne. The second time a vinyl group was there. This is a vinyl group. The vinyl group has inserted a carbon monoxide. This is the neutral point. This is the 1 electron donor. This is the 2 electrons donor that would have been attached to the zirconium. So the intermediate would have been something like this, and which would have undergone a migration reaction of the vinyl group onto the CO. If this happens, then you would end up with this product. In the last step, what we are doing is we are adding a phenyl cation. The electrophile is now pH plus. Okay, the electrophile is pH plus, but it is masked as a diphenyl iodonium cation. Okay, it is masked in this fashion because generation of pH plus itself would be difficult. So they have made it as pH2 I plus, stabilized by BF4 minus. So you see the number of groups that have been added to phenylacetylene. From here to here, you have added 3 things. One is a hydrogen, another is a carbon monoxide, the third group is a phenyl group. So 1, 2, and 3. 3 groups have been attached to the phenylacetylene. So what this particular slide illustrates is that the insertion reaction can be very useful for generating complex species. And one of them, although this molecule may not be generated in this fashion, but it clearly illustrates the principles involved in the insertion reaction. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Is there any question at this point? Otherwise, we'll proceed. Okay. This is yes.
Sir, instead of carbon monoxide, can we also use one more alkyne as a substituent for insertion?
Yeah, instead of carbon monoxide, can you use one more alkyne? Is your question, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In principle, yes, but I do not know whether it has been tried and whether it is efficient. The advantage of carbon monoxide is that it is small, and if you look at the second step, the space around the zirconium is fairly congested. So I'm talking about this intermediate, which is right here. This intermediate is fairly congested, and so that would be the only drawback of adding one more alkyne. But we will talk about towards the end of this class. I'm going to talk about multiple alkyne insertions.
Okay, sir.
It's not an impossibility. Yeah. Okay. So before we proceed to other reactions, I want to tell you that hydrozirconation can lead to some complications, especially when you have alkenes. Now, in this slide, I have 3 alkenes which are pictured here. One is 1-hexene, another is 3-hexene, another one is 2-hexene. Okay, so I should have said hex 2-ene, hex 1-ene, and hex 3-ene. Whatever be the case, you take a mixture of alkenes and add the Schwarz reagent. You expect them to add the hydride, and it happens like that. It does add the hydride and form an intermediate in this fashion, right? So these are the first steps that happen when you add a Schwarz reagent to an alkene. So not only is an alkyne adding on to the hydride, we can also have the hydride add on to an alkene. That is also possible. In that case, again, the principles are the same. The intermediate is an alkene complex in which the hydride migrates to the alkene, and the end result is an alkyl complex. So notice here, once again, the product is a 1-electron donor. So the incoming 2-electron ligand is converted into a 1-electron donor. So basically, this is what you would expect. If I treat this 3 alkenes, you should get these 3 different products. But surprisingly, if you take a mixture of olefins and treat them with the Schwarz reagent, the end product is the terminal alkyl complex. So this clearly tells you that the intermediates that were formed in the previous slide, the intermediates that are formed, which we will call as 1 dashed, 3 dashed, and 2 dashed, these compounds are capable of being isomerized to the final compound, which is 1 dash. This is the species that is isolated, or this is the species which is finally characterized. So it's very clear that some rapid isomerization has taken place. So one way in which we can think of this isomerization taking place is an insertion and an abstraction reaction. I am calling it abstraction, but You can also call it 1,2 beta hydride elimination. What you now understand is the beta hydride elimination is exactly a reverse reaction of the insertion reaction. So what I have done here, for example, here I have taken the 3-hexene and added the hydrogen. And now you can see that the 3-hexene has got two options. It can abstract or it can do an elimination of the 2 hydrogens which I have circled in violet. So either it can remove the hydrogen which is magenta colored, or it can remove the hydrogen which is blue colored. If it removes the magenta colored hydrogen, it will go back to 3-hexene. So let's remove the blue hydrogen, then in which case it produces 2'. So in other words, starting with 3, we will end up with 3', and 3' can generate 2' coordinated, or rather I should say alkene, which would be the same thing as 2-hexene coordinated to the Schwarz reagent. 2-hexene coordinated to Schwarz reagent. So this can again undergo an addition elimination reaction. In other words, now if it adds on hydrogen, so here is the species, the second species. This will lead to a second option where I can now remove the red hydrogen, and it will lead to 1-hexene coordinated to zirconium. So in this fashion, the hydrogen can be added and removed from the alkene, and you can have multiple steps, but these steps can be very fast. As a result, you have both insertion and deinsertion, or insertion and abstraction, or insertion and reductive beta hydride elimination, leading to isomerization of the 3-hexenes, and the final product is only 1', okay, which would be formed by addition of the Schwarz reagent to 1-hexene. So this seems to be thermodynamically the most stable species. So kinetically, you would have observed these 3 compounds. This would have been the first step, but subsequently isomerization would have happened, and the isomerization is basically a series of insertion and abstraction reactions, which leads to the final product, which is 1'. Okay, so what we have illustrated is that you can have addition elimination reactions. Here in this slide I have called it deinsertion. So the deinsertion can give you 1-hexene, and then subsequently 1-hexene gives you the final product. This is the final product. I have it illustrated. End result is the single product that you have here. So what we have illustrated in this sequence is that alkenes, alkynes, or carbon monoxides are all the 2-electron donors, and you can have any one of the 1-electron donor. In this instance, it was hydrogen. 1-electron donor can undergo a migration reaction. Okay. So the migratory insertion that you see is nothing but the reverse of the beta hydride elimination. If the beta hydride elimination of one of these hydrogens happens, then you would end up with the alkene hydride complex. So you can think of it as if it has undergone a nucleophilic, an olefin has undergone a nucleophilic attack by the hydride. So that could be one way of understanding this whole reaction. And the reverse reaction, which is the beta hydride elimination, is the reverse of this nucleophilic attack on the coordinated olefin. Okay. Last time I emphasized the fact that the two groups which have to undergo migratory insertion reactions, they have to be cis positioned on the metal. This is in fact demonstrated in many other systems also. A classic example would be a platinum square planar complex, which would be fairly stereochemically rigid. So here is a platinum olefin hydride. Both the cis and the trans compounds have been made. This is the trans compound where you have a 1 electron donor trans to a 2 electron donor and there is no reaction. Whereas when you have a hydride, which is a 1 electron donor cis to an olefin, then the migration takes place easily. Then it gives you an alkyl complex because the hydrogen is now migrated to the carbon of the olefin, which now becomes the beta carbon of the alkyl system. Okay, so cis migration seems to be important, and the other principles which I told you regarding the migration of a 1 electron species to a 2 electron donor, that also happens. I have said that this is a reaction which happens in a variety of metals. I have illustrated this for you with HCOCO4. HCOCO4, if you remember, is a mild acid, but it is also formally a metal hydride. And it is known for adding on hydrogen to the olefin, so that undergoes a hydrogen migration to an olefin to form an alkyl complex in a reversible fashion. So here also people have observed that isomerization of olefins takes place very easily with HCOCO4, and that reaction could be a series of addition elimination, addition beta hydride elimination, and which can lead to the thermodynamically the terminal complex, the terminal olefin complex. So let me now come to another system, which is insertion into a carbene. What is interesting is that carbon monoxide and carbenes are very similar in the sense that in both systems you have a pair of electrons from the carbon being donated to the metal. Here we are dealing with a masked carbene. The masked carbene comes up because CH2 Wittig reagent, which is written like this, PMeMePH, is actually CH2 in a masked form, and it is polarized in such a fashion that it is CH2 minus PMeMePH plus. So it is not surprising that this negative charge makes an attack on the tungsten, and it results in an intermediate. The final product is what I have written here. This is the final product. But let's see the steps that are involved in this reaction. So the first step can be attack of the CH2 minus, resulting in an intermediate, which looks like this. And the second step can be the dissociation of the PMe2PH, which is actually a trivalent phosphorus. And so you would end up with a carbene hydride system. This is a carbene hydride complex. So this is a 2-electron donor. This is a 1-electron donor, typical 1-electron donor. So now you are set up to do a migration reaction. If it did a migration, what you end up with is migration of the 1-electron donor onto the 2-electron donor, resulting in the formation of again a 1-electron donor. Okay, so you have a methyl complex. Again, the net charge, and because the charge on the complex was plus to start with, we end up with a positively charged system. And this positively charged system now just adds on PMe2PH as another ligand, because there is a vacant coordination site on the tungsten. This is a vacant coordination site on the tungsten, and that vacant coordination site is occupied by PMe2PH. So the final product is this. This is what we had shown on the first slide. So now we have seen one more, which is a carbene, which can add on an anionic ligand. Here is another masked carbene. In this particular case, it's CH2N2. This is a typical 16-electron species, square planar. So we can have an intermediate, which is a 5-coordinate intermediate, but the 5-coordinate intermediate would decompose to give you the CH2Cl species. Here, of course, the moment it is coordinated to CH2, you have an option for the chloride to migrate either to CO or to CH2. Here, of course, you need to make a choice. So what I'm referring to is the intermediate. To save time, I'm writing it with this PPH3, which is abbreviated. So now I have two 2-electron donors. So the chloride, which is a 1-electron donor, can migrate to a CH2 group, or it can migrate to a CO group. For in this particular instance, it migrates to the CH2 group, forms a CH2Cl. I do not know whether it's a thermodynamic or a kinetic preference, but this is the product which is isolated. And COCl is not an excellent ligand, so it is probably thermodynamically also not favorable. So this is probably both the thermodynamic and the kinetic product as well. Okay, up to now, I have spoken of the insertion reaction as happening within the coordination sphere of the metal. Sometimes there is a confusion if the attacking nucleophile is coming from the metal or is it coming from the external medium. So internal attack is the migratory insertion, MI. I will label it as MI, migratory insertion. Internal attack, or is it an external attack? That confusion happens. In this particular instance, there is some evidence in the literature that in fact it is a external attack. The system that I'm talking about is the one where you have let me go through it in a stepwise fashion. If I take CpFeCO2Cl, the Cl can be abstracted by Ag+ to generate a coordinatively unsaturated system. This coordinatively unsaturated system is actually iron in Fe2+ state. It coordinates to an olefin to form a nice complex. This complex is stable and can be characterized. Now I can do a nucleophilic attack, or I can in principle have a migratory insertion if I have a different group here. So let me illustrate for you the reaction. What was demonstrated was the following. Suppose I take sodium diethyl malonate and I treat it with this olefin complex, which is cationically charged. I can pose the question, is this going through an intermediate in which is it happening like this? And is this one electron donor migrating, or is it an external attack? In this case, there is no loss of carbon monoxide that can be shown because carbon monoxide presence in the reaction medium has no effect on the rate of the reaction. So this suggests that there is no dissociation of carbon monoxide before the attack takes place. So that means dissociation is not involved. If at all there has to be an internal attack, it has to be through an intermediate like this. Can this happen? That is a question. And people, I do not have the reference for it, but there is some evidence which suggests that this could be an external attack. So let me ask the question, why is it that I'm saying that this is probably not possible? Why is it that this species, which I have written in violet, this violet colored species is probably not possible?
Sir, it's a 20 electron species.
Okay, Arko, what?
Sir,
Yeah.
but it is not an 18 electron.
Not an 18 electron means what electron is it? It's a 20 electron species.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So that is probably the best answer for it. I will discuss these systems a little later, but it is highly unlikely that it is going through this type of a 20 electron intermediate. 20 electron intermediates are high energy intermediates in most instances. Now, just to make life a little more complicated, I have given for you another example here. In this case, sodium methoxide is the anion that is coming in, or the nucleophile that is coming in. So it can be thought of as a one electron ligand. Now I have two electron ligands present on the molybdenum. I have two electron ligands, and I also have an allylic species. And the OMe prefers the allyl group. Okay, so these things are determined by what are called DMG rules, and we have not discussed them, so I will discuss them little later. But here is an example where I have 2 carbon monoxides and 1 nitrosyl. This is 2 carbon monoxides and 1 nitrosyl, and 1 OMe group which is coming in. Where will it go to the carbon monoxide or will it go to the NO? So this, remember, this is negatively charged. So where would you expect the methoxide to go? In principle, yes, somebody wanted to say something? Okay, the product that you form is the one where the carbon monoxide has been attacked. Again, I have not indicated the electron counts, but it is very clear that a 20 electron species may not have been possible, but the OMe is now inserting into the carbon monoxide and not to the nitrosyl. So apparently nitrosyl insertions are not very popular or common, and that's not the only complication that can happen. Here is another system where there is a complication, and this is a carbine. Again, an unusual ligand, and H minus is the incoming ligand, and the H minus is going in on the ligand, which is not the part that is coordinated to the metal. Clearly, this is an external attack, and you end up with a cumulene type of a structure, and it is not going to the carbon monoxide. One would have expected this to go to a carbon monoxide. No, it has gone to it has destroyed aromaticity, and it has generated a strange complex. So I just wanted to conclude by saying that there are many insertion reactions, and many neutral molecules undergo insertion reaction with 1 electron donors, but there can be complications like this: CO versus NO, remote attack, versus proximal attack. This could have generated a Fischer type carbene complex where OS is bonded to C, OMe. This would have been a perfectly valid structure. If I did not know this reaction, I would have predicted this. This would have been my favored product. This is exactly what I would have, sorry, this is H. This is H, yeah. This is the product that I would have predicted. Okay. But there are strange systems which this is not the product that I am observing. So complications are there in insertion reactions. Okay. So this ends my talk about simple insertion reactions. Now I want to talk about another insertion reaction, which is in fact a little more complicated, where I have multiple insertions of alkynes. One of the questions that was posed in the beginning of the lecture was, can I have multiple insertions? The answer is yes. multiple insertions do take place. I'm going to tell you a system which has been called by the researcher as an organometallic detective story. And this was one of the early 1970s, I think, when this reaction was studied and unraveled, but it involves multiple insertion reactions. Okay, so let me give you, this is accounts of chemical research paper by Peter Matelis. Peter Matelis. I will upload this paper. It is a bit more complicated than present in this lecture, but basically the principle is there are insertion reactions. In this case, insertion, the insertion priorities also come out, and you can see that multiple insertion of neutral groups can be done. Okay, one of the first things that needs to be mentioned is that if depending on the R group present on the alkyne, I can have trimerization of the alkyne to form a benzene type of a molecule. If I have a medium sized R group, then I form a butadiene. This is a small R group. This is if I have a medium sized R group like pH, I form a butadiene. And if I have a tertiary butyl unit, I end up with so I end up with a complex like this, which seems to indicate that that's the first step in the reaction. So if I have a very bulky group, the reaction stops in the first step, just coordination of the palladium to an alkyne. If I have a medium group, medium sized group, then the reaction goes to the second step, which is formation of just coupling of two alkynes. How did this happen? Did the two alkynes just couple in the coordination sphere, or were there intermediates? And that's where the detective story really starts, because Matelis was able to observe several intermediates and show politically, or rather active in the stoichiometric reaction that he was studying. So let me rewrite the first step again. Now I'll write it in a generic fashion with only R groups. Only R groups. So this is the case when the reaction stops at this stage when R equals TBU. Reaction stops. If I have a small R group, then the second insertion happens. And in order to understand that, I can first do a chloropalladation or insertion of a chloride into an alkyne. So this is an alkyne, and if I now do a migration onto this carbon and form a palladium carbon bond, I end up with this intermediate. You can see that one carbon palladium bond is formed. This is a new carbon palladium bond which has been formed, and a new palladium, sorry, fluorocarbon bond, fluorine carbon bond has also been formed. Now, if I add on another alkyne, So I can add on another alkyne to this. I can coordinate it to this alkyne. And now I have a choice. I have a chlorine which can do an insertion reaction. I have a vinyl group which is also one electron donor. This is a 2 electron donor. So between these two groups, it looks as if the vinyl unit does a migratory insertion reaction. So let me put a different color now. So I end up with this bond. And I end up with this bond. Okay. So if I label it as 1, 2, 1, 2, I have 1, 2. This is a carbon-carbon bond, so that's 3, and this is 4. In most of these coupling reactions, I suggest that you number the carbons so that you're clear about how the carbon metal bonds are moving and how the bonds are being formed. So now I have done this second insertion reaction. I can do a rotation of this carbon-carbon single bond . If I do this rotation, then I would end up with this species. The moment I form this species, which I'm going to circle in red, notice how the palladium and the second chlorine have become close to each other. And elimination of these two would be facile, leading to the formation of a cyclobutadiene complex. Once the cyclobutadiene palladium chloride complex is formed, it seems to be a stable species. It does not go to the benzene moiety at all. That was shown by Maitlis. But this is also a vinyl complex. And you remember, a vinyl complex could always coordinate with another alkyne. And if the size is small, then coordination of one more alkyne seems to be facile. So that is what happens when you have small vinyl group, when I have small R groups, I can have coordination of the third R group. Small. This should also be small. Then I can have such coordination, resulting in the formation of the species which is labeled here, which I can cyclize to form a benzene moiety in the same fashion. And so the final product will be a benzene moiety and palladium chloride. I skipped over a lot of details because of lack of time, but the essential reaction is an insertion reaction. Either the chlorine migrated in the first step. After that, it was a vinyl group migration. And in all the cases, an alkyne was the 2 electron acceptor for the migrant. So the migrating species were these two, and the end product was this. And a reverse reaction was possible, leading it to be mildly catalytic. In this case, it is heavily dependent on the size of the R group. In fact, Maitlis was able to observe several of the intermediates depending on the substituents. He took a variety of alkynes and did the same reaction with palladium chloride, and he was able to isolate a whole bunch of intermediates were characterized. That's why he called them an organometallic detective story. He was able to capture the intermediate compounds which we have been talking about. So I'm going to stop here. What I have illustrated for you is the fact that 1 electron donors can be varied, 2 electron donors can be varied, and insertion reactions are a general phenomenon and a very common phenomenon in organometallic chemistry. So let me stop here and open up the floor for discussions. Any questions? Otherwise, we will.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in this reaction where the R is phenyl, you will get a cyclobutadiene kind of ligand to the palladium and acid, right?
Yes.
So can we use this method for synthesis of cyclobutadiene? Like if you abstract the ligand from the palladium, you will essentially get a cyclobutadiene, right? Which is not conjugated, obviously.
No, cyclobutadiene is, you have in the coordination sphere of the metal, it is square.
Yes, sir. After that, it will form non-conjugated type of system, right?
Yes, but it won't be stable. It will usually dimerize. All cyclobutadienes will dimerize.
All right. Yes.
Okay. They are not stable in the isolated state.
Okay.
They'll dimerize, polymerize, they'll do all kinds of things. No free cyclobutadiene has ever been isolated.
Sir?
Yes.
I have another doubt. So here the ring size of the final product is controlled by the steric crowding around the metal center, right? So instead of using like Cl2, like PdCl2, instead of that, if you have like one chlorine for the starting of the reaction and the other group, instead of the other chlorine, if you have something a little more bulky, can we get a smaller ring size for a less bulky R group?
Okay, Maitlis describes the use of bromine and isolation of the intermediates in some of these cases. So other halides are possible, but other alkyls, are they possible is something which I do not know. I will upload this paper so you can, in fact, read it. Let me see if I have. Yeah, I have the paper which all kinds of complexes have been formed. I hope you are able to see the PDF file.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So he isolated a variety of compounds which had palladium in them, and some of them without palladium. And like I said, I wanted to use this paper primarily to illustrate the fact that insertion reactions can happen with chlorides and vinyl groups, and it is sterically controlled in many cases, and that's what I wanted. But otherwise, this reaction is fairly complicated. Yeah. So to answer your question, I don't think there is any limit on what groups can migrate. It could be a chloride, it could be an alkyl group. which can migrate also. There is no restriction on that. In fact, if you did the reaction with methanol, you ended up with a methoxide coordinated species and so on. Okay, any other question?
Sir, is the size of the ring being, limited to 6? Is it a general limitation, or can we increase the ring size further, like 8 or 10 or?
I'm going to talk about 8. 6 and 5 are obviously it's like magic numbers as far as cyclization go. When two species are very close, it's inevitable that they couple with each other. So the kinetic product would be the 5-membered ring or the 6-membered ring. 8-membered rings are possible in the case of nickel. We're going to talk about it in the next few classes. Maybe not immediately now, but later on. 8 is unique, and that's probably a limit that I have seen. Okay. Anything else?
Sir,
Otherwise-
wherein there was isomerization of the hexenes,
Yes.
there the migration and the reinsertion is controlled with the statics, right?
Yes.
Just is it similar to that of the BH insertion, which we see according in the alkenes and then heat it and the boron goes to the terminal carbon?
Say that again. I didn't follow.
In the BH insertion on alkene.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about hydroboration reaction. Yes.
Yeah. Is it similar to that, where if we heat it, the boron gets transferred to the terminal carbon from an internal alkene?
Here also the terminal alkyl group is favored. So the thermodynamics of the alkyl complex is determining the product.
Okay.
Yeah. So in the case of hydroboration, there is an electronic factor which also favors the
the hyperconjugation with the empty orbital of boron.
hydroboration. So my memory is poor, but I have not read it recently. But I think there is both electronic and some other control is also there. Here
there is also hyperconjugative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So if there are no further questions, we'll stop the recording and we'll stop the class right here.